So first I'm going to give you a demo of what this sounds like. And all I have on here is some EQ and some mastering. So let's give that a listen and then I'll tell you my thoughts. Okay, so initial thoughts, you'll probably notice that the recording quality on the actual vocals is very nice. So for female vocals, they have Clara Soros, and her voice is extremely pleasant, and she has been around a lot of projects, and I think they really picked a good person to sample this from. The recording quality itself is very clean, and then there's also Daniel, and I'm not going to try and butcher his last name. I'm not very familiar with him, but his voice as well is very nice. Very nice. And you hear a lot of the verb actually is coming from the plugin itself, and it sounds nice as well. So how these work is there's true legato, scripted legato, backing vocals, and there's some in reverse. And these are the phrases. Now, I am adamantly normally against loops and pre-recorded wave files. And the reason for that is I feel like you're using someone else's creativity. You're not really writing it yourself. But in the case of the human voice, you kind of have to make an exception, because it's not like if you had a pre-recorded violin loop, because there are VSTs that you can emulate a violin to fool most people as long as they don't play a violin. Same with guitar. Yeah, I play guitar, so I could tell if it's not real, but most people can't. But the human voice, most people will be able to tell if something is fake with the human voice. So these pre-recorded ones, it's fine. Now Daniel, it almost seems like he was kind of an afterthought, and they're like, we need some male vocals in there. Maybe when Ethera 3 comes out, we'll expand it. But right now he has these different ones, and they all show you key signature and BPM, but they're mainly Viking based, which I'm fine with. I think Viking stuff is freaking cool, and I'll love write music for it. So that's fine with me. I'd like to see it maybe expanded at some point. Now Clara comes with a lot more, because she's been in there since the beginning. So I mean, look at all these: drama, epic, ethereal, ethnic, modern, angelic. So there's a lot, and there's like these Ethera selections. I think these come from some of their other libraries, like the EVI, EVI, how you say it. They almost give you kind of a taste of what those are like. So yeah, it sounds great. The true legato works pretty well too. I do have some issues with it, but I mean, listen to it. Now you might kind of hear one of my issues. So these first three sounded very convincing. But this last one, if you're paying attention, you can kind of tell there's something with it. Now, probably the biggest problem I have with the actual legato, we'll show it on Daniel here. So sometimes he has almost like he starts with like a whoop kind of sound, which is cool. But the problem is sometimes it's so seemingly random that you can play the same thing back a couple times, or you can even render it, and it's almost like a different sample. He's singing it differently than the first time you heard it. So it can be kind of frustrating, very finicky. But when you get it to work, it sounds phenomenal. Another problem with the phrases, however, is now most of these are in minor, which is fine. I mean, most of the stuff I compose, I compose some stuff in major, but not super often. Now, but the problem is some of these, they don't. Sometimes the ones that sing higher will be lower, and then the next one will be higher, and then the next one will be lower, and there's no seeming pattern to it, nor the color coding. Other than I believe this one is a synth down here. No, those are samples too. And right now I'm not really sure why, but it's not actually playing. But one of the problems is when you get these here, I don't know why it's not playing. Let's try it on Daniel. He'll describe it just as well. Now these all end in like different lengths. They last different amounts of time. And so if you're either using a keyboard or you're drawing in your MIDI, you don't know how long it's got to be into the next one. In this rare case, it's going to be much better to draw in MIDI than if you don't know how to play keyboard and use it, because it's very unpredictable unless you happen to be watching the waveform box. So all in all, though, for the vocals, you know, the library price, there's not a whole lot of good solo vocal libraries out there. It's fine. It sounds good. It's not the easiest to use, but I still use it because it sounds good. Now we're going to get on to the other part, which is the synth. My God, the synth. I don't want to be mean by any. I really don't. But this thing is atrocious. This is the the Core Synth Gold 2.0. It's got a layering system, and it's got, you know, step sequencer and sound control and LFO. It's got an effects rack. Why don't I like this? Well, I really give them credit. They tried to do everything, but nothing all that well. Now, as you can see, I wrote a whole kind of little song using just this, which is phenomenal. The fact that you can do that. I mean, they give you, look at all this stuff. They give you all kinds of stuff. But it's so unpredictable. What do I mean by unpredictable? For example, pulsing risers and sirens. So let's look at this rise. Here it sounds like God, it takes forever to load too, by the way. So, you know, that kind of trailer rise sound. But then in this pulsing and rising and sirens, what in God's name is an unstable plunging? I'm going to show you what this sounds like. Now, I like using niche things. I like being creative and trying to fit different sounds in there. But I outside of a weird sound design scenario, have no idea when you would ever use this. Take a listen and you can tell me what you think. Now, on top of this, what blows my mind is that Unstable Plunging needed a sequel. We got Unstable Plunging 2. Is it any better? No! No, it is not. It sounds like someone farting into a tuba, if we're being completely honest. Now, what else does it have? Strings. Are you expecting pad strings, synth strings? Weird as all get out. That's not what this is. And actually, these strings don't sound half bad. Yeah, they are synth strings, but there's also some sampled strings in there. And that could be useful. But you also get organic and acoustic. You get like these violin textures. Which could be useful for some scary horror stuff. But the other problem is like so much of this doesn't have any oomph to it. It's like the bass is just castrated off of it. For example, we'll go up to hits or percussion and hit, epic big stomp. What are you thinking of? You're thinking of this huge impact sound, the kind of sound that you normally have to turn down and almost EQ some layers off of so that it's not clipping and whatever. And this is what you get. It sounds so weak. It sounds like it's being played out of a phone speaker. And so this whole, all of these, you have to EQ to the way you want them. And it's just, it's a strange piece of equipment. Sometimes things won't work. Like you'll put a layer in and it just won't register. You have to reload the thing, which again, this is not the quickest loading thing. And I give them credit. They tried to make something, this all-in-one tool for someone maybe doesn't wants a paid library, but they don't have a whole lot of money. And they already got the vocal one, so it's just a little bit more. I give them credit for that, but at the same time, I just don't really know how useful it is. You get Action Synth. This is kind of like Damage by Heaviosity from like Wish.com. I don't know. It's comes in multi-layer and single layer. So we'll go to the complex percussive, and some of these aren't too bad. If I can, there we go. Yeah, it's kind of pretty crisp sounding, you know. But here's the problem I came in with it. This is the one I was using right here. Now, it doesn't tell you what time signature it's using. So what would you assume if someone says, oh, there's no time signature specified? You probably get to assume it's 4/4 because, you know, your average song, that's what it normally is. Obviously, it's fun to deviate from that and do something more original, but that's what you would assume for your basic of basic things. That's not what this is. It doesn't repeat on an even bar measure. It repeats at 7.2. I had to make it spliced so it actually came in on time. 7.5 bars then. I had to reset it basically because it was starting to go out. Very strange choice. Basically, this entire library is just super inconsistent. And the problem I have with loops, like I was saying earlier, when you put it into a playable instrument, becomes even more evident. I'll show you, for example, Drum Kit 12. It's the same thing, mildly pitch corrected to the point where you can barely even tell, but a lot of these have the weird pitch correcting on them. which becomes evident in some of the let me see if I can. There's also vocal chopped, which is, you heard that in there too. And there's some in reverse, which is nice. Trying to see where vocal synth. Is this the one? Let me see here. Let's see, traditional. Now this one was cool though. I'll give you this. Viking humming. That was pretty cool. Niche, but kind of cool. But some of these will have like these vocal noises, and they'll just be pitch corrected, and so it sounds kind of goofy. Oh yes, there's also short sounding ones. Like they do give you a lot of stuff, but basically this library is just one inconsistency. So this is Zero G's website, and what I came to find is that everything they do is so inconsistent and strange. For example, genres, other genres, blues, Celtic, cheese. I am very unfamiliar with the cheese genre. I mean, I like some 80s metal now and then, but I'm unfamiliar with the official cheese genre. And then it just brings me to brass elements, acoustic bass, lounge and chill, pop. Why is this a specific thing on their website? I go to the Vocaloid thing, which are these virtual singers. A lot of them are like the Weeb Master 9000, as you can see. This one is one of their more expensive ones. And like, you go to listen to now, I know the genre of music, and I've been asked to compose this genre of music, but that just does not sound, well, that great. Some of these are okay-ish, like the Hatsune Miku one that I heard sounds a lot more like what you'd expect for that. But then you have this. This came out in Vocaloid 2, and how does this fit in? This is one I'd consider getting, maybe? I mean, it sounds phenomenal, and you can use that to create words. Any word in the English language. It sounds pretty insane to me. And they also have a male version, and that's $60. So now let's go over to instruments. Let's say I want a choir. We have no choir. So why is that listed? They have mainly solo vocals. This one really blew my mind, and I'll show you why. So, a versatile collection of male and female vocal phrases performed by 5 different singers.
Got to have it, yeah!
Fall down on my knees and start to pray.
Okay, there's those. So let's skip to 5. What in the crap? Where did that come from? How does that fit in? So it would just seem that this is a Zero G thing. Apparently they've been around since 1990, and I know, I can tell they have a lot of skill, but it's so scattered all over the place. So would I suggest it? What would I give this? The actual vocal library, a 3 out of 5. It's only that high because the actual sample sounds so crisp and clean, and the legato, when you get it to work, does sound extremely convincing, where it could fool a lot of people. And it is loops. I'm not a big fan of that. And Daniel's a little limited in his phrases. but there's just not a whole lot of good solo vocal libraries out there because it's hard, and they did a good job on it for the price. The synth, no, stay away. That thing is a 1 out of 5. It is one of the clunkiest things I've ever used. Go pick up Vital for free, Surge for free, Synthmaster Player for free, and you'll get something way better than this. You want some pads, you want some atmosphere, get something from Spitfire Labs. There is no reason to use this. You want percussion? It's Furum or Furum. I can't remember what it's called. I believe it's Furum. Way better. There's absolutely no reason to use this synth. I dig into random stuff I own all the time looking for something. I will never, I don't think ever, open this. It's just not worth it. I'll still use the vocals all the time because, like I said, they sound good. But for the synth, I would stay away. And I really don't mean any disrespect to Zero G and you know the stuff they've made. I just can't recommend it. It seems that they're very hit or miss on their libraries, but when they do hit, they sound good. I've had this library recommend me all the time, and I chose it over a lot of other vocal libraries because of that sound quality. So anyway, guys, I hope this helped you, and I always hate being the guy to give bad reviews, but it's got to be done sometimes, right? All right, hope to see you guys in the next video.